I welcome you all to the Relu Creator Tips and Tricks webinar. Nice to have you here. I'm seeing some familiar and a lot of new names. I'm Conrad, the product specialist for the Relu Creator. To give you a little background, I studied dentistry for 4 years before pivoting to software development, and I have now made it my mission to help as many dentists as possible leverage the power of AI. And the presentation part of this webinar will be recorded, and I will send every participant an email afterwards with a link. So you will have the opportunity to rewatch the parts that are relevant for you. So today we will be looking at some features I often get questions about, you might not actually know about, and in the end, that might help you speed up your workflow. The presentation part will take around 30 minutes, and due to our limited time, I will go through the presentation, and you can put your questions inside the Q&A function of this presentation. I'll quickly post a question so you all know where you can ask them. There we are. You can also upvote questions if you have the same question at the same time. Yeah, there will also be a QR code at the end of the meeting to book a one-on-one with me if you want me to explain something to you in greater detail. So let's give you a quick overview about what we are going to look at today. So we will start with a quick introduction of the Relu Creator, as some of you might be new to the platform. And in the main part, we will take a look at the uploads, the editor and exports. And then I will provide you with a small explainer of our other product. And lastly, I have a little surprise prepared. You will get an exclusive preview of our automated implant placement planning feature. All right. So first, what is the Relu Creator? It is a cloud-based solution, meaning all of the actual processing is done on our service. This allows us to provide you with accurate segmentations in a matter of minutes. We do offer features that go beyond the segmentation, and we also automatically align intraoral scans and facial scans to the CBCT. And we are able to do all that while keeping your patient's data safe. We are committed to uphold the highest privacy standards and are GDPR and HIPAA compliant. Right. And what do I mean by workflow when we look at the Relu Creator? I mean going from upload to editor to exports. The upload is all about getting the right data in, your CBCTs, your intraoral scans, and your facial scans. In the editor, you can then review and fine-tune our segmentations and our alignment. And then in the exports, it's all about getting the right data out. Your STLs, your PLY, your mass DICOMs, you name it. We've learned that our biggest user groups inside the Relu Creator are orthodontists, OMF surgeons, implantologists, dental technicians, software developers from dental software companies. If you find yourself in those user groups, this webinar might be for you. Now let's head to the next part, to our main part. In this main part, we're going to start with the uploads. I'm pretty sure most of you already know this, but I often get questions why the CBCT and intraoral scan are inside the same folder, but are not aligned and fused. You have to note that everything has to be uploaded at the same time, so the AI can process it together. And it has to be uploaded in the same dialog. Let me quickly show you what I mean. On the left side, we get the fused tooth. There we get the best of both worlds. We get the high resolution intraoral scan crowns, and we get the root from the CBCT. And on the right side, you can see the CBCT tooth, which obviously has much less resolution when it comes to the crown. Why the color difference? I will explain that to you later. To upload, we can hit the orange upload button, and we see several options for what to upload. I first upload a single file DICOM. Then I upload the facial scan alongside it. And then, okay, first I have to decide that I want to upload 3 files at the same time. And then I upload the upper and the lower intraoral scan alongside it. This way we can make sure that the AI has everything it needs to process and fuse everything together. Okay, now that I've shown you what to upload, let's head to the advanced options when you decide in the next dialog. Once we've chosen all the right files, we are presented with a multitude of options. First, we can choose what to segment. I was recently talking to a design engineer from South America, and he was wondering why he would only ever see a small portion of the skull segmented, even though the skull was fully visible in his scans. And when we choose what to segment, we can choose between the maxillary complex, the result you see on the left side, and we can choose to segment the skull, which you can see on the right-hand side. And the skull obviously includes the cranium, the orbiter, and the temporomandibular joint. If you need those structures, make sure to select the skull. And you can decide it in this drop-down menu. Please be aware that once you've decided what you want to segment, you cannot change the selection afterwards. And second, once we have decided what to segment, we are presented with even more advanced options. Let's take a closer look. First, we can request closed crowns and decide to disable the root in the bone cutout. I'll show you in detail what those two mean. The third one about the implant treatment will make more sense at the end of the presentation. You can activate the fourth option if you receive a flipped DICOM. And the fifth option is something that can be useful in 3D printing. So the model becomes watertight, so you can really use it. And the last option can be very useful if you already anonymized the DICOM yourself and want to keep the metadata once you've uploaded it to our platform. All right, let's show you what we mean with closed crowns. When you request them, you can then export the crowns from the intraoral scan with a virtual root added. And if you don't choose this option, you would have the option to use the open mesh and the closed mesh. The closed mesh, the mesh gets closed in a single point right under the crown. Yeah, that would be the options that you would have usually. If you don't select it, it takes a little longer to segment that, but yeah, it's usually worth it. And the orthodontists that join us today will probably like this feature. When you disable the root in the bone cutout, you're able to remove our very precisely modeled alveolus for a much smoother surface, perfectly suited to plan tooth movement. And this would be it for the advanced upload options for now. Let's take a quick look at our upload limits. I have gotten many questions in the past about how many uploads a user still has left, because some people pretty quickly run into our upload limitations. We allow you to upload 5 scans for free to test our AI models. But then we ask you to activate and therefore pay for every 5th scan. We have to do this to have our server infrastructure running, to pay for the running costs of it. But recently we have introduced a counter to highlight how many uploads you have left. You can now see how many uploads you have left right below the orange upload button. And when you press the little question mark right beside it, you can access a little explainer. We also take into account how many credits you have in your account. For every 25 credits in your account, you get another 5 free uploads. Okay, now that we have taken a look at our uploads, let me show you how you can structure your data inside cases and collections. You might have already wondered why we differentiate between cases and collections. We have introduced cases to allow for collaboration. In this scenario, I have set up 2 different cases, and each allows for a collaboration of a different group of users. Let's say you lead the orthodontics department. When we enter the first case, we see the participants, orthodontics departments, and another user who is a manager for that case. And the collections are used for different patients. Now, when we take a look at the other case, we see a different user that has the role of a viewer. Okay, now let's invite a third participant to take a closer look at the roles. There we have it. And I'm inviting myself. Press continue, and then we see the roles. The manager has the same subset of access rights as the owner. A contributor can upload but not activate, and a viewer can solely view the cases. All right, this concludes the upload section. Now let's jump right to the editor. In the editor, I will walk you through our 5 viewing modes, our advanced options to display our segmentations, and I will highlight our auto-generated views and give you a little demo on custom objects. Then I will show you where you can find our auto-generated views, the settings, and our YouTube tutorials. Okay, let's first start with the view modes. Okay, now that we are in the editor, a lot of you might not recognize the 5 modes we see in the top right-hand corner, as they're only available on Fused models. To make sure we are all on the same page, I'm going through all the 5 modes first. In Edit CBCT mode, I'm also going to show you how to add custom STLs like patient-specific implants, or even teeth. Here, in this view, we view the fused structures. And by that, I mean the intraoral and the facial scan that are aligned to the CBCT. You can double-click on any structure inside the editor, and that will center it. Here we see the high-resolution intraoral scan crown fused together with the CBCT root. You can keep Shift pressed to add more structures to the view. If we now want to add the facial scan to this view, we can click the little head symbol in order to add it to the view. Our facial scan gets aligned based on the soft tissue segmentation. You can see the little yellow line that goes along the segmentation. This is the facial scan in relation to the CBCT. And again, if you want to hide the facial scan, you can right-click it and press Hide. And then right back to our overview. And next, we will go over Edit CBCT mode. And in Edit CBCT mode, I'm also going to show you the advanced display options. All right, once we enter Edit CBCT mode, we notice that the colors change. This signals that we are working with CBCT data only. We can also view our beautiful, colorful segmentations inside the CBCT slices. When we then, again, double-click on a structure, we will jump to that structure. Now, having selected the structure, we can go into fine-tuning it. Okay, let's first open the view options. We can first adjust our CBCT viewing options. We can adjust the opacity of the segmentations inside the CBCT slices, and we can adjust the contrast and the brightness of the CBCT slices themselves. Okay, now let's work on the model. We can adjust the smoothing. Let's set it to 0.1, and voila, we now see voxels. Now let's reset it back to 0.7. We can now adjust the opacity of the model as well. This is a great feature to visualize, for example, the trajectory of the infraalveolar nerve canal, or to view a sinus inside the skull. There we can see it, we really see how it shines through and the trajectory of the nerve canal. And again, we can also add structures to that view to see really how do the teeth relate to the nerve canal. All right. In edit CBCT mode, you also get access to our manual segmentation tools. If those are of interest to you, we have created a series of YouTube tutorials that really go in depth on those features. If you want to learn more, I highly recommend you to watch them. Then let's go right to the next chapter. We are still inside edit CBCT mode. And here we can easily access the Ceph and Penna views and add custom structures to the view. Let's first take a look at the auto-generated views. You can access the auto-generated cephalometric views in the bottom right corner. We also auto-generate a panel. Also, now that I've shown you our auto-generated views, let's go right to the custom objects. You can drag and drop in any STL you want. But I will show you how you can use this feature to visualize an auto-transplantation. Okay, let's visualize an auto-transplantation and replace tooth 23 with tooth 25. First, I will export tooth 25, and then, once I've exported the tooth, I will virtually extract tooth 23 to make room for tooth 25. Now, we can simply drag and drop the STL for tooth 25 in. The tooth will then show up in the Custom Structures tab. Okay, let's hide the original tooth 25 and move the new STL. Right. We have to first select it. There we have it. And then we can use the move feature. And then we can really put it into position roughly. We can rotate the tooth alongside its axis, and we can also move it along the axis. To move it, we can use the arrows, and to rotate it, we can really use those circles that you see. All right, some positioning still to be made. Okay. Yeah, that should be good for now. But we can also view the custom structures inside the CBCT slices. As I'm zooming in, you can see the thin yellow outline that the new structure that I just introduced has. And now we can use the information of how the tooth relates to the bone structures inside the CBCT slices to really fine-tune the position. And then once we've fine-tuned the position to our liking, we get a very quick visualization of how the tooth fits into the arch. And that would be almost everything for edit CBCT mode that I will be showing you today. All right, but now let's take a step back and look at the intraoral scan related viewing modes. In registration mode, we can manually realign the intraoral scan to the CBCT teeth. First, we pick an arch, and like in most dental software, we can realign the two using landmarks. There we see we pick a landmark on each arch there, but let's not bother too much with it. And now go into edit iOS mode. There we see with tooth 31, the segmentation is not quite perfect yet. So now let's pick the tooth and use the paintbrush to make it better. And there we go. There we have our manual option to correct it. In the anatomy selector, right below the arches, you see a little symbol. This is a brand new feature. There we have it. We have now added the feature to view landmarks, like the tooth axis and mesial and distal points to the creator. We have added this feature as quite a few researchers asked for it. You see, like the little boxes are the mesial and distal tooth, and the arrow is the axis. You can also view our virtual roots we talked earlier about in the fifth mode. There you see how we add the virtual roots to the intraoral scan crowns. Well, that would be it for the viewing modes. Now let me show you where you can find the YouTube tutorials, the settings, and the shortcuts. When we click the icon in the top left corner, we get quick access to the YouTube tutorials, shortcuts, and settings. Let's start with the shortcuts. There is quite the number of shortcuts, and they're mostly related to the editing modes. But even I don't remember all the shortcuts. But let me show you something really nice, because if you find yourself using a function or a manual editing option quite often, let's quickly close this. Yes, then you can really just hover over that function and you'll see the little shortcut. In this case, it was V, to just access the feature really fast. Okay, now let's go to the settings. The 3D refresh settings can be very helpful when you do a lot of edits in your segmentations. So you can stop the creator from always reloading the 3D models, especially if you do edits to the skull. This might take some time of your editing. And before we now jump to the exports, let me show you two more features of the editor. You can now view root canals. This is still a beta feature, so it's not perfect yet, but you can view the roots by entering CBCT mode. And then you press the little tooth symbol to the right. And now let me show you how the root would look like inside our segmented tooth. Okay, now that I've shown you the root canals, let me show you one last feature on the editor. The Relu creator can differentiate between deciduous and permanent teeth. To display them, you can pick and choose inside the anatomy selector. Let's take a closer look. When you click the little arrow next to permanent teeth, you get to the selector for the deciduous teeth. This way, you can pick and choose and view a mixed dentition. And that would be it for the editor. Now let's jump to the exports. Well, now on to our next part. Okay, once we're happy with our segmentations and decide to export, there are multiple things that I want to highlight. I'll show you how to activate a scan, how to navigate the anatomy selector, how to group structures, and how to export the custom structures that you added and possibly moved. Also, I will highlight how you can use and build your own presets. But first, let's take a look at the activations. We can enter the export dialog by clicking the button in the top left corner. Activation. In order to access the export dialog, you have to activate the case. It costs 3 credits for an intraoral scan only case, 15 credits for a CBCT case, or 25 credits for a fused case. A single credit is roughly equivalent to €1, but we do offer progressive discounts depending on how much credits you buy. Now, that we have activated, we can go to the next step. Well, let's jump right into the anatomy selector. And once we're in the anatomy selector, you can notice that we have split up the process into 4 different steps. First, you can select from which view mode you want to take the structures from. Then you can select the structures themselves, and following that, you can choose how the structures should be exported. And then you confirm to add the structures to the selections. Now let me walk you through the process. Regarding the view modes, those are very important. Here we have to decide if we want to export fused, i.e. the aligned structures, intraoral scan structures, or CBCT structures. Each of the selections will lead to a different output. And you can see the differences highlighted in the naming of the structures inside the export selection. But for now, let us remove all of the structures from the selection so I can show you how to group and add the original files to the selection. You can click the Scans tab to access all the original scans. Let's do an export. I'm exporting both arches as groups and add the skull and the mandible as separate structures to it. Okay. Let me quickly rename the group of the upper arch to upper, so it's clear. And I'm doing the same with the lower arch, renaming it so it's clear. And then, once I've done the renaming, I will add the skull and the mandible individually to the export. And once we've done that, and then press download, we will get a zip. And inside the zip are all the STLs. Any custom structure you've added earlier can be found in the Custom Structure tab under CBCT in the Anatomy selector. And there we see it. There's the Custom Structure tab. There we would just click it and add it to the selection. But for now, for the sake of the easiness, let's not do it. And from this point on, we could just go ahead and export our files. But let's say we need this type of selection quite regularly. Then we can create a preset. First, we can head to the Presets tab. We can create a preset simply by clicking Save Preset. We can decide for a name and give the preset a description. Let's say, okay, we need it for regular exports. And then press Confirm. And then we can remove the export selection. We see nothing is selected. And once we press the preset, the exact same selection will pop up again. Now, we also have an array of presets that we have pre-created for different softwares. If you're missing your favorite software, feel free to reach out. We are always working on expanding our preset library. And that would be it for exports. Okay, now to the next chapter. As I teased in the beginning, we have a second product. This product is not aimed at dentists or design engineers, but this product is used by dental software companies to bring our technology to the user where it is the most useful. We strongly believe that to empower as many dentists as possible with AI, we must deliver it to the software they already use. And we're certainly not the only ones to think this way. We are already partnered with industry leaders like Ray, Planmeca, AutoSelect, and Smilefy, and we are working very hard to bring our advanced features to your favorite dental software, with more integrations already headed your way. Nonetheless, if your dental software provider is not on the list, talk to them about us. This way we can make sure they know about us. Also, if your dental software provider is on the list, ask them how you can get our automatic segmentations inside their software already. All right, now to the little teaser. This is actually one of the products that gets me really excited to be working at Relu, because I think this can have a very positive impact for a lot of people. As of now, only 1 in 1,000 lost teeth gets replaced with an implant. Why is that? The main factor is cost, and another big contributing factor is that a lot of dentists hardly ever place implants, as they're not very confident in their placement, which is honestly a shame. And with our one-click surgical guides, we want to tackle these problems from both sides. We can significantly reduce the planning time required for an implant treatment and in turn bring down the cost, while at the same time, we offer an added layer of safety for the dentist through high quality and easy to produce surgical guides. And as it is in our current state, we can take a closer look. As of now, we are already able to automatically place the implant and create a virtual wax up. And we take a multitude of factors like the trajectory of the intraalveolar nerve canal into account. We expect to roll out the full feature in a couple of months. And if you're interested in beta access to try out the feature, feel free to send me an email. The address is on one of the following slides. So for now, thank you very much. Thank everyone for listening in, and thank you all for being here. And now we can get to the questions. All right. So for Emil, which object is a reference in CBCT to intraoral scan alignment? So as of now, we align the intraoral scan and the CBCT based on the teeth. So if you have a totally edentulous patient, our AI would struggle a little to match the two together, as we base our matching on the teeth.
Maybe if I can just add one thing to this, Conrad. I mean, just to also talk about this question about which one is in reference. So when you go to the export options, you can also choose whether the teeth will be exported in the intraoral scan reference or in the CBCT reference. So this is the occlusion section in the export. So of course, one of the issues you have when you take a CBCT is that the mouth is slightly open because you're biting on a piece of plastic, for example. But if you want all of the bone and all of the teeth to be translated towards the occlusion that you register from the intraoral scan, then just check the box occlusion in iOS space, and then that'll work.
All right, thank you, Antoine. And David, any certification regarding the accuracy of the segmentation results? Under relu.eu/evidence, we offer all the research that has been done using our models and comparing it to the accuracy of other automated segmentation softwares. Really, you can see there how accurate it is. We're industry leading regarding the segmentations of a CBCT. Yeah, we're also quite far with our 510K and CE certifications. If that is what you were wondering there. Yeah, the meshes can be quite smooth, and we apply smoothing, as I've shown you in the advanced options. But everything we do is based on the actual voxels. So if we take a model, we take the voxels and then apply smoothing to it. If you were to go back inside the editor and decide to reduce the smoothing to 0, you would actually be able to just export a voxelized model. And this way we can make sure it doesn't diverge from the underlying anatomy. All right. No, we don't recognize anatomical structures automatically, such as Degonian, Cellar, etc. The only anatomy that you're able to select directly is the one you are seeing in the anatomy selection. So the skull, the airway, the mandible, the the infraalveolar nerve, all those structures that you see on the right-hand side. As of now, the auto-implant planning will be available for, so the beta will be available for where we are missing a single tooth between already like 2 existing teeth or a tooth that has already been replaced by an implant. But for now, it's going to be on single cases only. Maybe Antoine, if you can tell more.
No, you're exactly right. So it's only for single implant cases for now, but it's just for us to have a minimum viable product, let's say. But the goal is definitely to expand to that and to go all the way towards all on X eventually. But obviously that, comes with additional complexity. One thing about the single implant case is also it's right now we first place the crown, we first calculate where the crown should go, and then based on that we calculate where the implant should go, and then we determine the length and the diameter of the implant that might be ideal for this case.
All right, thank you, Antoine. And for Emil, as of now, we're not working with specific implants. Maybe later on, we will be adding libraries of specific implants, but for now, the implants that we place are just cylinders that have a specific diameter and a specific length that are usually found in implants. We really want to make it as general as possible to bring it to as many people as possible to see, okay, now we have an implant that fits this description, we can use it, but we don't want to be limited by specific implant libraries as of now.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if I can just add to that, I think one thing to that about the Relu engine, which is our second product, it's, one of the major goals for Relu also is to partner up with existing software companies such that they can have this type of technology inside of their software. And so by partnering up with the existing, companies that offer surgical guide design, for example, it might be that you can work with them to have, our technology included, and then still have all of the implant libraries as well over there. So this for us with the cylinders is definitely a way to show that we can calculate it, but then you still want to match the right implant of your choice to that diameter, to that length, and to that position.
Right, thank you, Antoine. And David, yeah, we realized that the incisive nerve canal can be quite important for orthodontics. And we've already worked on a solution for that, but as of now, it is not available. But I will send you an email after the webinar, and then we can maybe have you test the feature or something and look into it more. Yeah. All right. Then I see no more questions. Oh, no, right. Maybe Antoine can answer those questions better than me.
The next one we plan to, sadly we are under NDA typically with these companies, so we can't mention who we work with behind the scenes until they publicly launch it. But the moment that we work with a company, typically we will also put their logo on our website if they allow us. So then you can maybe go to relu.eu and you also see the companies appear over there.
All right.
Yeah, so then, maybe also I can take the question for Emil. I would say right now for the surgical guides, we only believe, as you already indicate, that we will be able to make accurate guides right now once that we indeed take a specific library into account. We know which sleeve to use. And so for now, it's more, we use it as like a proof of concept, also to convince other software companies to work with us, whereas then they would actually take the surgical guide creation on them, and we would just offer the algorithms to them to automatically calculate where the implant should go and where the crown should go, and then they can do the final step of actually generating the guide. So it's more right now as like a proof of concept that we want to show that it's possible, but not that we would recommend using it in a real life scenario for now. But regardless, it's still the goal for us to include several libraries. The first one that we're integrating right now will be from biotech as well, and then we can hopefully already start making some real guides then.
Right. Any more questions? All right. Then I think we can. Oh no. Yes, I can answer that question. We are already integrated into other software. So as you've seen, Planmeca Romexis and AutoSelect and Ray already are using our technology inside their software. There's also companies that we work together, that will be working together in the near future, and we will keep you posted about that on our website. So expect more to come there. Those are not the only ones as of that are the only ones as of now, but there are more to come very, very soon. All right. Then if there's no more questions, I think we can wrap it up. If you have any questions or want to find out any more, you're always very, very welcome to book a meeting with me. You can use the QR code, and you can also find my meeting times on our website. And yeah, if there's anything, feel free to shoot me an email, book a meeting, and I'll hope to talk to you, a lot of you soon. So yeah, thank you very much for being there, and thank you for your questions. And I hope to see you soon.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Right.